That is Troy Hooch on board the Freedom out of 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro, California. A day-and-a-half trip that produced limits of bluefin tuna. Troy said it started at 6 a.m. and it ripped into the afternoon until they limited out nonstop action. 70 to 80-pound fish were fairly common, mostly, though, 30 to 40-pound bluefin tuna. It can't get much better. Nice going, Troy. And check out that 45-pound white sea bass for Chris Ibarra on board the Apollo on a dropper loop rig fishing live squid. They also had limits of bluefin tuna as the Southern California bite is absolutely phenomenal now.
Oh, it's heavy. Oh my God, help him. Give me over.
Glenn Matsushita with a remarkable catch, a huge bluefin tuna in Southern California on the Amigo out of 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro, California. Let the celebration begin. Great fishing going on here.
Oh my God, help him.
Give me over.
September 24th through the 26th, we'll be on board the Apollo, and you are invited for this very special two-day trip. It is limited to only 21 anglers, includes all meals, and should be fantastic. This is when we have our best weather months in the fall, and the Apollo, they've been on their game this year. Outstanding fishing and really nice weather. Then we're going to switch over to the Amigo out of 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro, California for another two-day adventure. October 6th through the 8th should be another great trip. Tanner, Cortez Bank, and anywhere else the fish are. Don't forget, text me at 657-227-6459 to get on board the Apollo and or the Amigo. Best weather months of the year, and hopefully lots of fish for you to catch. Hey, good morning, my dear friends, and welcome to beautiful Surfside, California, here in Southern California. It is beautiful this morning. No wind, the sunrise is gorgeous. You have to feel blessed to be a part of this. And we've got great fishing information breaking this morning. The Independence with a heck of a hit on the yellows a couple of hours ago. The guys are catching yellowtail down at Cedros Island from Island Fishing Tackle in Carson, California. That's Sam De La Torre and the boys. They're putting the wood to the yellows. And also out there on Cortez and Tanner, they're biting again this morning. But the weather's up, and we'll have some important weather information for you for the next 4 or 5 days. We'll let you know when the window is and how snotty it is out there. And of course, we're going to watch the islands. We're going up to NorCal. We're going to check out the surf and so much more. You know what time it is. It's time for the morning briefing. Good morning, my friends. Is that good? And is it good to be with you? Thank you so very much for taking some time out of your busy day to spend here on Friedman Adventures. Don't forget, there's breaking news all day long. You can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Don't forget to subscribe to the Friedman Adventures YouTube channel and tick that little bell. Go on, tick it. You'll be notified when there is new content, and there's a lot of breaking news that we'll be covering for you all. Don't forget, we have a couple of charters coming up. You saw that on the lead-in out of Seaforth on the Apollo a two-day, and then on the Amigo a two-day in October. Remember, those are normally our best weather months, and hopefully somebody we'll turn the fan off because it's an A1 pain in the neck out there on Tanner and Cortez right now. All right, let's get into it because there is so much going on. Let's go down to Cedros Island just to let you know that Tyler Tanaka and Tim Marquez and Sam De La Torre, along with so many other great friends from Island Fishing Tackle in Carson, California, are having an outstanding trip. Really outstanding trip. We heard from Tyler Tanaka down there. Limits of yellowtail yesterday early morning. Today they're already catching yellows full speed. Wonderful fishing down there. They also had those black sea bass collars for a snack, and man, was that good. Tyler said, "This is so delicious. This is so much fun." And the yellowtail fishing here is phenomenal. And that seems to be going on again here early this morning. We got an early indication from those guys that it is full speed forkage going on again. So happy to see that is going on down there at Cedros Island. Now let's bring you up to the Ensenada area there in Baja California. Also, it's a 70-mile drive past the border. You hit Tijuana and then you go south in an absolutely pristine drive. You look out, see the Coronado Islands, drive around that rugged Baja coast, see the tuna pens down below there, and then you arrive in Ensenada, 70 miles, where fishing offshore has been a little bit more difficult. We see those bluefin tuna. Some days they bite, and some days they just want to be finicky. And now you have a little bit of breeze coming up down there also, which makes it a little more difficult. Trolling the Mad Mac lures has been a great way to catch a BFT offshore when they are biting. Throwing a little dart jig like a Daiwa Sakana 120 gram jig has also been good. There's been some fish on the poppers. There's even been fish on the surface side like a Teddy 45. But overall, that offshore bite is dicey. Kind of hit and miss. Much better fishing inshore. Whether you turn south and go down there off Santo Tomas where the barracuda bite is raging on. Really good gar fishing down there. Throwing the iron has been the way to make it happen. And also some excellent sand and calico bass fishing and big reds and nice lings and so much more. If you're fishing closer to Ensenada, around Todos Santos Island or Punta Banda or inside of there, there's still bird schools of yellowtail that get up and put on one heck of a show. You get over there in a hurry. We call that run and gun fishing. And throw an iron, man, that is fun fishing. Yellows anywhere from 7, 8 pounds up to 20 pounds under those bird schools. And locally there, you can find some sand and calico bass also, and some pretty good rock fishing, especially just outside of Todos Santos Island. The Banda Bank has been a place where there's been some nice big lings and some quality vermilion reds, we call them, rockfish out there in that neck of the woods. So pretty good south of the border. We'll see what all this breeze does to us, as it's going to get a little bit breezier. You can't tell from this gorgeous ocean today. It may be a little bit hazy, but there is virtually no wind at all. It is beautiful. Hey, if you've got some tax needs, unfiled taxes, just need to get your tax situation in order, give Tim Marquez a call. Tim's down there whaling on the yellowtail at Cedros Island right now. And if you have heating and or air conditioning needs, John Lopez from Efficient Heating and Air Conditioning. All right, so let's keep coming up now and checking out some other venues. And we're going to go now and check out what's going on offshore here. Now, Tanner and Cortez Bank, man, you saw the weather out there. It's snotty, okay? It's fishable. And the fish are biting in it. They'll bite in that crappy weather, but man, it is a pain in the neck, you know, especially if you're an operator, you're running one of the boats. Jeff Markland was just like on the Thunderbird out of Davies Locker, Newport Beach, saying, please, please give us some calm weather. Incidentally, Jeff Markland, Thunderbird, if you ever want straight info, we call it straight dope, he's going to give it to you. He's going to tell you if fishing sucks. He's going to tell you if the weather's up. He's such a reliable source, so transparent about his days. I love Jeff's reports because they are always candid and right on. Anyway, back to the weather. It's snotty out there. It's definitely fishable. It seems like it's going to remain that way. And then Saturday looks like it's going to be a beautiful day out there. So if you have a trip scheduled for Saturday, the morning hour into the afternoon looks good. And then that night, it's going to get a little bit nastier. Sunday it's going to get even nastier. And then if you start looking at the long range forecast, and I hate to get too far out there because, you know, it becomes inaccurate many times. It gets downgraded or upgraded. But if you look past that, it looks like a windy couple of days to come. So we're going to watch that for you very, very closely. Right now, definitely fishable and some pretty darn good hits going on out there. On board the Tribute, you saw that on our lead-in. They had some really up weather, nasty weather out there. But Mike Pritchard said, we may have had that, but darn, we just missed on limits on the bluefin tuna. We also had a couple of guys that got spooled, and we probably lost twice as many fish as we hooked. Why? Because of the crappy weather, for one thing. Fish were mean. He said they were just extra tough, and it was just that kind of a day where they had a lot of action all day long. So no question about that. Some pretty darn good fishing going on board the Tribute. Other boats that have been reporting in, the Thunderbird had pretty darn good fishing yesterday on the bluefin tuna. As we mentioned, the weather was up, but that is the way it goes. Condor 2-day trip 41, bluefin tuna yellowtail Constitution 2-day trip 71. Bluefin tuna to 150 pounds. The Apollo you saw on the lead in. Chris Ibarra on that trip. Limits of bluefin tuna out of C4 Sport Fishing. 3 white sea bass, including Chris, which we estimated to weigh about 45 pounds. Might have been bigger than that. An absolutely gorgeous fish. Highliner, limits of bluefin tuna. So weather's up, but the fish are nibbling out there in this weather. Pacifica 3-day trip, 132 bluefin tuna to 200 pounds. El Dorado out of Long Beach, limits of bluefin tuna. You saw the Amigo catching copious amounts of BFT, including that giant fish that they had one hell of a time getting over the rail. That was something to watch. And the other guys that are out there are having similar kinds of scores. A little bit snotty. It's going to get a little bit worse by Saturday evening and Sunday evening, but we need to keep our eyes on that for you very, very closely. Saturday looking like an absolutely beautiful day. Vary your tackle. Sometimes they're finicky, and you're going to drop down to 25-pound fluorocarbon, and you're going to fish a good hot bait and a smaller hook. Other times they'll bite the 30 and 40 pound, and you want to hook them on as heavy as line as they will bite at night. 500-gram jigs right now because it's going to be breezy in the evening time, so you are going to have all kinds of trouble if you're fishing too light. 350 to 500, leaning toward the heavier jigs right now. 200-pound bite leader. There has been some decent hits at night, not full speed, but every once in a while, a pretty good hit. So that is your Tanner and Cortez bank. Let's go back to the long range situation because it has been absolutely magnificent out of San Diego. Talking 7 to 8 day trips that go south about 500 miles down there to the ridge and Alejos Rocks. And just a few hours ago, the Independents got in on an absolutely wonderful yellowtail bite. This after they had experienced some wide open yellowfin tuna fishing on fish in the 30 to 70 pound range, a lot of 40 to 70 pound YFT. Another tremendous fishing trip going on board the Independents as they are putting the wood to them all. Excellent fishing. David Rouse was on board the Independents reporting really a great yellowtail bite just a few hours ago. The long range situation's been marvelous. We mentioned that yellowfin tuna. It has been fabulous. And also we continue to see great yellowtail action. And then on the way home, a lot of these guys will go into the Baja Coast where they find spectacular fishing for big calicos, big sheephead, more yellowtail, and an occasional wide open bite on the white sea bass. It has been a long range season to remember. Don't forget, we've got a great one coming up. Well, we'll be on an 8-day trip on the Independence, which has been sold out for a year in November. But next April, we're on board the Independence. We're a little bit later in the month than we were last year, quite a bit later. And I think that bodes well for a great trip. 5 days. Call Independent Sport Fishing today or go to www.independentsportfishing.com. We'll see you next April on a great 5-day trip. Really looking forward to that. Some other long-range guys, long-range boats like the American Angler, if they're on shorter trips, are out fishing that bluefin tuna. Like the American Angler right now, they're out there, and they had some big bluefin tuna. Lisa Paul Lisa, nice fish. Way to go. Gorgeous fish last night. Excellent fishing at times at night on the bigger grade fish. Remember, you can kite fish those areas, and some private boaters have been doing that for some big fish, and also that nighttime bite's pretty good. The majority of the fish on Tanner and Cortez are going to be in that 25 to 40 pound class, but you get some bigger and some smaller than that also, some 10, 12 pound BFT wandering around there. So we'll continue to watch that all for you very, very closely. I love what is going on right now. Let's go down and check out what is going on at the islands, Coronado Islands. More dicey, less consistent. Every once in a while, a really good hit on the yellows there. I want to call it 5 to 20 yellows is about average right now, and sometimes complete misses are possible. But on the most part, it's been like that. The Vendetta 2 was out there yesterday for 14 yellowtail, and we've seen scores up there in the 50s and 60s. But before, it was every single day you went to the islands, it was just cranking out big numbers of yellowtail. It's not that way anymore. It's more hit and miss as water temperatures are fluctuating a little bit. And after an incredible run, I mean, it had gone on for months at the Coronado Islands. It is a little bit more difficult right now. 25-pound fluoro fly line bait is the way to get it done. They're looking offshore and scouring San Diego that turned in 0 yesterday, so we did not see a count for them, which is never a great sign. Other guys that are fishing offshore picking a few bluefin once in a while, and the San Diego, speaking of them, had 5 yellowfin tuna offshore, and they leave in the morning, come back that same evening, so not too far from Point Loma, San Diego. So we'll keep our eyes on it. Hopefully that Coronado Island bite gets going again. San Clemente Island, you're probably going to see a few more guys in there fishing with that snotty weather. They're still picking some white sea bass. At one time, same thing. It was full speed yellowtail on a dropper loop rig with a 16-ounce torpedo or an 8-ounce, depending on wind and current, and live squid with heavy line, like 50 pound. But that bite is a scratch right now. If you get on the right bunch of squid and make some squid, get squid for bait, you can come up with a good score on white sea bass. It's not that long ago that the Amigo had limits of white sea bass. What was it, 4 days ago? They had limits of sea bass, and then they went offshore and caught limits of bluefin tuna. So there are some opportunities there. They're further apart, though, right now. And then as you fish Clemente during the daytime, you can find some really good calico bass fishing. You can also, fishing there, fly line and sardine, catch a few yellowtail. And there's a lot of rockfish around there also. So keep that in mind. Speaking of rockfish, man, that was one heck of a ling cut that we saw on board the Producer. Remember, those guys that are fishing bluefin are also, when they get limits or get a good hit on the bluefin, trying to get you some rockfish. In this wind, however, that's going to be a lot more difficult. We'll keep our eyes on it for you very, very closely. Moving you to Catalina Island, where we have seen some exceptional bonito fishing, a little bit of calico bass bite in there also. And we see the sheephead and rockfish and whitefish pursuit. 22nd Street landing in San Pedro had a yellowtail, and then they picked at all that other stuff. The El Patron out of Long Beach Sport Fishing has been doing much of the same. Kind of a scratchy, but nothing wide open. Seeing some yellows, thinking they're going to turn on, but it's just a scratch bite. 0, 1, 2, maybe 3 yellows on a trip right now. We'll keep our eyes on that for you very closely. Hopefully that's going to pick up a little bit. Santa Barbara Island, the guys that have been fishing there, still catching the occasional big yellowtail. Tons of whitefish there, all you want, and they're nice big fat ones. Really good fishing there. San Nicolas Island, great rock fishing and plenty of big whitefish there also. And then the Channel Island area, we have seen some really great rock fishing, but some of those boats out of Cisco's and Oxnard and Ventura Sport Fishing are at those local islands, Anacapa and Santa Cruz, and they're picking some calico bass and catching the occasional barracuda, throwing an iron. So there's some okay fishing there. It's a little breezy up in that neck of the woods right now. It should start to mellow out in the fall when you have high inland air temperatures. We're going through this heat wave. That whips these winds up something fierce. If we get that air temp down, as we normally do in the fall, the wind should subside. Also, fingers crossed, because it is a pain in the neck sometimes. No question about it. If you're headed to Catalina Island, do it on the El Patron. Super fast, beautiful little boat. and they have a great crew and offer great weekday prices. So you can get on the El Patron by going to www.longbeachsportfishing.org. As I like to say, get on the El Patron. And also, if you're fishing out of Ventura, and who wouldn't want to fish with Daniel Holloway on the Island Spirit? She is a big, roomy boat with a great crew and great burgers. Just go up there in the galley and say, Bert, Phil Friedman says your burgers are spectacular. And Bert will fall on his knees and thank you. No, actually, he'll just cook you one heck of a good burger. Really great stuff on the Island Spirit up there. Don't forget, we're doing a used tackle drive right now, and you can drop off used tackle that we're going to take to the island of Cedros for the children there in Mexico. That should be good. You can drop it off at Ventura Sport Fishing. Also, www.venturasportfishing.com, or give them a call at 805-676-3474. And you can also drop that tackle off, by the way, as long as I'm on the subject, at Eric's Fishing Tackle. Eric, we love you. Thank you so much for doing that. Island Fishing Tackle in Carson. Young's Fishing Tackle in Bellflower. Also, you can drop it off at Big Fish Bait and Tackle in Seal Beach, California. Use tackle for the kids of Cedros Island. Thanks for all your help on that. All right, let's go down to the border. Right there on the border, San Diego. The local bite's still really good right now. I mean, it's been a great local season for the San Diego-based boats catching calico bass and sand bass. Now, some guys are missing a little bit, but for the most part, you're going to find great action. Even if you have to return some fish, it's still pretty darn good. Sand bass fishing, it's pretty good. Calico bass fishing, there's a lot of bonito around. Every once in a while, a white sea bass, a yellowtail, or a big halibut. Really great fishing going on. The dolphin with calico bass and bonito. The New Seaforth with great action on most of their trips. It's a great option for you all. And if you're taking a beginner or a young person, a kid fishing, man, I can't recommend it enough. It's got that San Diego customer service combined with some really good fishing going on. Nothing wrong with that oceanside picking at the bass there, and a few whitefish, sheephead. Same thing up there out of Dana Wharf, although they catch a ton of shorts, so you keep busy. Calico bass has to be 14 inches here in Southern California. So when I say a short, it's less than that. It has to be returned to the sea. And you get a lot of that in that neck of the woods. Here in the San Pedro, Long Beach areas, we're picking at a few bass. Private boaters are doing good. They get on those small stones and catch big sand bass and some nice calico bass. Sport boats are picking at it, catching mostly sculpin whitefish, the kind of stuff you would be catching in the wintertime. Unexplainable up there in Marina del Rey. Hopefully they'll have some of that great twilight fishing. Again, starting tomorrow night on the new Del Mar, they've been catching big sand bass for the most part, some calicos mixed in with it, but mostly during the daytime, sculpin whitefish and rockfish. We've kind of covered the Channel Islands. Let's go further up the coast of Burgess and Morro Bay. Excellent rock fishing going on up there. We continue to see albacore being taken out of Half Moon Bay and San Francisco. That is a great signal and sign. But that northern bite, Burgess, excellent rock fishing, and high hopes that they might catch an albacore or two here in the fall. I'm banking on that. I'm thinking that's going to happen. The new Ray Ann, 11 anglers, San Francisco area. What a trip with 22. Lingcod for limits. 4 nice halibut, 110 rockfish. They continue with great fishing up there out of San Francisco. I'm loving that. Big Fish Bait and Tackle, we just mentioned them a moment ago because they're helping with our efforts to take used tackle to the kids of Cedros Island. They also have all the bait you'll need for a successful outing. This is perfect for surf fishing, everybody. What are you doing sitting on the couch? What are you doing scrolling on your phone when you could be enjoying the ambience of the Eastern Pacific and catching some surffish? You get all your bait down there at Big Fish Bait and Tackle, and they've got gear for, trout fishing all the way up to catching marlin and big bluefin tuna. They've got it all at Big Fish Bait and Tackle, and they're giving away every single month a new custom surf fishing rod. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. For this month, it's for the biggest fish, the biggest halibut caught in the surf. I know John Garma is trying hard. John, you ought to be here this morning, man, throwing a lucky craft or a chrome crocodile lure and picking off a big flatfish. It is absolutely beautiful. All you have to do is go to Big Fish Bait and Tackle, buy the ruler that you'll need to measure your catch, and then they'll give you all the instructions. This month, September, biggest halibut gets a gorgeous surf fishing rod and bragging rights. You don't want to forget that. Some spot fin croaker in here and some nice ones. A little bit of corbina. The water's warming up to 71 degrees down there around Bolsa Chica, Huntington. We see some good spot fin croaker fishing going on. Yellowfin croaker also up there in the Santa Monica Bay. We've been seeing some awfully good fishing in addition to that. So some nice stuff going on in the surf. Hey, for all of your voiceover needs, I am available. Just send me a text and we'll work on your project together. Whatever it is, if it's for your business or you just want to surprise somebody with a happy birthday with my voice, I'm happy to do that for you. All right, my friends, don't forget, stay tuned. We are going to show you the 2 charters we have coming up one more time again. As always, it's always fun fishing with you and shooting a video and capturing that moment that you're going to remember for a long time. And I'll be shooting videos on our trip out of Seaforth on the Apollo, as well as on board the Amigo, and then 8 days on board the Independence, which has been sold out for a year now. All right, have a great one, everybody. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Get out here and experience it. Did you see any fish jumping behind me the other day? There were fish jumping out of the water. In fact, there's a guy who walks his dog here. The dog, I don't know the guy's name. I'm sorry. But I do know the dog's name, Jack. And he said Jack waded out into the water and just about flipped out. Scared him when a fish jumped out right next to Jack. So there's a lot of activity here. A lot of pelicans have been hitting the water and things are looking great. Have a great day and I hope to see you really, really soon. September 24th through the 26th, we'll be on board the Apollo, and you are invited for this very special 2-day trip. It is limited to only 21 anglers, includes all meals, and should be fantastic. This is when we have our best weather months in the fall, and the Apollo, they've been on their game this year. Outstanding fishing and really nice weather. Then we're going to switch over to the Amigo out of 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro, California for another 2-day adventure. October 6th through the 8th should be another great trip. Tanner, Cortez Bank, and anywhere else the fish are. Don't forget, text me at 657-227-6459 to get on board the Apollo and or the Amigo. Best weather months of the year, and hopefully lots of fish for you to catch.